Hi everyone. The world of investments is continuously changing and ever evolving. Though the recency bias may lead us to believe that frequent changes are a thing of the present, but let me take you back in history. The pioneer of value investing, Benjamin Graham, discarded and updated his value investment principles five times between 1934 and 1972, which is a period of 38 years. The veterans like Warren Buffett and Howard Marks have always advocated value as an investment style, whereas academicians like Ashwath Damodaran have continuously refuted the same. There is a constant tug of war between which style does better and under what scenarios. To understand what value investing means in the Indian context, what percentage of your portfolio should be in value-based funds, we have with us a subject matter expert, Mr. Sonam Udasi. Mr. Sonam Udasi has been associated with Tata AMC for the last 5 years and has 2 decades of rich experience. He is responsible for managing their value fund, the Tata Equity PE Fund. Thank you, sir, for joining in and appreciate your time. Uh, I hope you, your team, and everyone are going well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. All is well. I hope the same for you.
So my first question to you is that value investment as a style has laid a lot of focus on traditional parameters like PE, PV ratios, and higher dividend yields. Whereas growth as a style of investment has laid focus on those companies where the anticipated rate of growth is higher. Now, there is a qualitative assessment in determining the value factor. What we've also seen is investors, kind of lay a lot of focus on comparables compared to DCF, which is a discounted cash flow, because they believe that the DCF can be speculative at times. How would you define or distinguish between these two styles of investments for the benefit of our investors?
If experts like Benjamin Graham and Warren Buffett struggle with it, you can very well say that I have also been literally struggling. Uh, in experience, I mean, whatever little experience that I've gathered, it's very clear that for any investor, you're trying to buy something that is cheaper today in the hope that this will become expensive tomorrow. So today it's value, and someday it will become valuable, and I can therefore sell it for a profit. That is essentially is investment. Um, Generally, a sector or a company becomes value, in my view, when there is some concern on that sector or a company. For example, a sector which had lower supply and demand was higher, then pricing tends to be up, and therefore valuations for that sector starts to move up because profit margins are very high. And if suddenly people realize that there is a scarcity and there is more production in that sector, then it sort of equalizes an overproduction, and it sort of comes off, and therefore then that sector becomes value. So therefore, value investors generally tend to look at historical multiples, whether it's PE, price to book, EV, EBITDA, and say on a 10-year basis, this was the average multiple, and currently that can be your starting point to determine that this is cheaper. Uh, but that doesn't actually it's not a guarantee that it will become valuable over a period of time. So what you do is, for me, value is a starting point. Okay, I realize that it is cheaper than historical. Now, what do I do with it? So what I try and do essentially is try and see whether this concern that has come is a passing cloud or it's a niggling concern. If it's a passing cloud that, you know what, in 2 years' time, demand supply will normalize and therefore profit margin will come back, then this value can become valuable. Otherwise, if this sector is like a commodity and will remain a commodity, then what is the point of chasing it? Then this value can become value forever or a value trap, what we call. I think that is how I generally try and look at it.
Right, sir. I think you made a very important, point that you should not get into a value trap while trying to focus on value investing as a theme. So if we really see what has happened over the last decade or so, not just in India but globally, value as a style has continuously underperformed. Now, some can attribute the reason to probably easy liquidity, or the principles of the global economy in general have changed at a much faster pace than what we probably expected. So, how do you read this situation? And given the context we are in, do you think there is a scope for value investing?
So I think there is always scope for every style of investing, whether it's value or growth. Essentially, investors want that they are able to buy something cheaper and therefore which they can sell at a higher price later on. That's what general principle of investing is. Um, to my mind, value without any sort of growth potential is of no use. It's a value trap. Uh, and I agree that the easy gush of liquidity over the last 10-15 years has brought cost of money very, very low. And therefore, cost of taking a risk has become lower. And if the cost of money is lower, then generally investors tend to buy something which is more visible and high growing and take that bit of incremental less risk and take a lesser bet on something called value, which is slow growing comparatively. And therefore, that you see the dichotomy between very, very high potential, high growth valuations and very deep value sectors. So there is that huge, and this disparity is across the world today. It's not specific to India.
You mentioned about deep value, which essentially means low PE and low PB ratios and probably higher dividend yields. But when we dig deep into the Indian portfolios in general, we have seen that fund managers have resorted from deep valuations to companies with significantly higher PE PB ratios, and have tilted from value investing to probably what we call growth at a reasonable price, which is the GARP style of investing. So, wanted to understand that, is this still justified and is it here to stay?
So I think for now it looks justified because whoever has followed this style has done far better in the last 5 years than deep value investing. It's known to everyone. So for now, it's worked for you. Um, does that mean that deep value style will never come back? I don't think so. I think it's a matter of what interest rates are and what inflation will bring. Uh, if the cost of money starts to move up, which I think over a period of time it will, whether it happens 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, I have no clue. Then I think people will start to value whether the P multiple or price to book that we are paying for such a high growth, say a FANG stock that we are paying, is it justified or not? Right now, many business models are that you start the business model, acquire customers at a loss, make it scale, and we'll monetize it at a future date. And we are willing to pay very high multiple for that potential of growth. If interest rate was to become in the global environment 2% or 3%, will that business model hold true? So for now, this style is very, very good. um, when interest rates will start rising, I think that's where the true test of this will come out.
Thank you, sir, for a detailed response, and very well said that, when we have 80% of the bonds worldwide yielding less than 2%, I think somewhere sanity might prevail and we might see some reversal at some point of time. So my next question is again about one of the fundamentals of value investing, which is about concentration. So when we used to study, we used to read in textbooks that if you find value in something, you go all in, and you should have your portfolio very, very concentrated in those value stocks. And growth proponent always used to have diversified portfolio. Now, one strange thing which we are observing for last few years is that even value investors are diversifying their portfolio quite significantly. So one reason could be that they are not able to make return out of those concentrated positions and they are trying to take bets across the spectrum. Or is there a fundamental shift in the thought process in the mind of value investors which is happening?
So I think you have to look at it purely, even in growth stocks. Uh, Growth is difficult to come by. Logic, you said that growth stocks growth fund managers used to have a pretty diversified portfolio earlier. Even if if you look at their portfolios today, they are equally concentrated. It's actually reversed itself. So growth investing is now more about concentration. You take specific bets, you take a tighter portfolio and go with it. Because I think growth itself is very tightening. I mean, there are certain sectors, segments which are showcasing all the growth. For example, digitization theme, or AI theme that we call, and therefore unicorns. Uh, on the value side, if I specifically talk about India, uh, earlier and today, even today, if I ask even a layman today, what are the value stocks in the Nifty today? He will give you standard answers, and you will get ITC, SBI, Power Grid, GAIL, ONGC. So everybody knows that these are cheaper than where they have been. Everybody is aware of it. Nobody wants to buy it. Logically, as investors, we were always hunting for something value which nobody has seen, and can we garner a lion's share of that? And at some point, we will be able to monetize it. So today, it's the exact opposite. Lot of it is also to do with the ESG concern that has come out globally. So in a lot of companies, especially commodity and especially sin sectors, global investors are not comfortable. They want a cleaner energy or a cleaner thought process. And therefore, they are not willing to give very high multiples or valuations to these kind of models. I think that at least on the commodity side, that valuation or deep value, I think is here to stay for the long term, unless they go to renewable. Uh, because we all know that price is a function of demand and supply. Uh, if there is less demand for a certain theme uh, from a longer term perspective, then obviously the price action will follow suit. Uh, at the same time, if we do not look at intrinsic value at all times, where is your sort of sounding board? So it's a fair. So what I do generally as a principle is that by nature, because I'm choosing to go equity or trying to become an equity investor or looking at equity investment opportunities, I have to be aware of growth. So I look at valuation, that's my starting point, but I also look at what is the potential, what is the growth potential, and can I play a part in this. So to answer your point, uh, personally, for me, it really doesn't matter if you are very well diversified or concentrated. It matters on with what clarity you have built that portfolio, and are you communicating enough with your investors on the same. I think that's where this thing is right now.
So point well taken. And then there are regulatory inhibitions also in terms of how much concentration you can have in a portfolio. But your point is very relevant that most of the investors do understand where the value is, but this is one of those strange times when people are not buying cheap and they are buying expensive. And for certain reasons, they believe that this strategy will play out for a very, very long period of time. So my next question is what matters most to the investors? So we can all debate and discuss value versus growth and different other styles of investing. But as an investor, I want to understand where should my money be? So when we look at different financial planning models, and if I have to divide investors' portfolio into different asset classes, say between fixed income, equities, bullion, cryptocurrencies, there are a good number of models which help us understand how much asset allocation should be in each of those. When I have to divide clients' portfolio within equities, be it between, say, a large cap or a mid cap or small cap, there are again a lot of formulas which help us arrive at those numbers. But as an investor, if I have to take allocation between value and growth, there are not many equivalent. So if you could give us an idea from your experience for an aggressive investor and for a balanced investor, what should be the allocation within equity between growth and value style of investing?
First things first, value investing in my view is like, you're cultivating a bamboo. So it will not show you for 5 years, whole 5 foot long bamboo will come out after 5 years. So essentially value investing is typically extremely patient. It tries your patience tremendously. Um, So I might, you can ask that to Reliance investors last 10 years. It took them a lot to get to this valuation that is there in this stock currently. And that can change. And each sector company goes through its own ups and downs. And there are many examples. Uh, so I think it really depends on the concerned investor's patience profile and your ability to so if the money is truly long term, because you and I both know that if you are going for a value style of investing, logically you have paid lesser than what you should have paid for this group of stocks, and at some point of time you will make money on this. You don't know when is that point of time. That is the only, and it can test really your patience. And timing is not something that is in our control in the end. Um, to that extent, I would certainly like some portion, whether it's for some people, even 50-50 is a good proportion between growth and value. For some people, they are like, you know what, we want to see results every year or some bit of results every year. We can't see 3 years, 0% return and then we see something. Um, so it really depends on the customer profile. Really, it's not really. It is not for the faint-hearted. If we talk about Warren Buffett as a value investor, there are investors with him for humongous amount of years, and he sits on them like nothing's happened. And there are years when he underperforms the S&P 500 for a very long time, and then he sort of comes back. So it's a patience game. You will make money on it, unlike growth, where you can overpay during a cycle and you take a brunt of it for some time. In value, generally, slowly but surely, like a tortoise, you sort of try and win the race. While growth is like a hare, and sometimes it sleeps as well. The hare can sleep and the tortoise can win. I think that's where the answer is.
Uh, Very well explained, sir. And I think bamboo example is one of those examples which will carry from this discussion to our investors as well. And it gives us a very, very good framework in terms of thinking how we should be investing into value stocks. So my next question is about the future of value investing. And the reason why I'm asking you this question is because as a proponent of the value or growth style, at times you get confused when you see people who are associated with those particular style taking little contrarian bets. So to name an example, say Warren Buffett, who's known to be one of the key players of value investing in the world, when he started investing into companies like Apple or even Barrick Gold, that starts giving confusion in the mind of those investors who have been following him and who have been following traditional matrices to arrive at which stocks are value and which are not. So how do you see the future of value investing changing and getting modified over a period of time because of these moves by marquee names in terms of how they are doing their investments?
So, in my humble opinion, value investing will stay the way it is. That you try and buy something cheaper than what it is, and hopefully you'll make more money on this over a period of time. That doesn't change. That principle doesn't change. Uh, in the near term, people might evolve their thinking. I would also argue on the value that today, if you were to find an X company which is trying to do digitization and it looks optically very, very expensive. If you remember the dot-com during 1999, 2000, a lot of these big IT names had sort of traded at 200p multiples and 300p multiples, and then they crashed from there. And today I bet that from there also these companies have made a 10x return. So even if you had overpaid at that time for a growth stock, in today's context, in hindsight, they would have looked like value. So essentially, what is value? If today is cheaper and the potential, if I buy it today, 10 years down the line, the sector size will be 10x, and therefore I will make that money. So I would argue sometimes HDFC Bank was a value stock 10 years back, even HDFC Limited or even Kotak, though they are traditionally considered growth. So essentially, if the growth, um, uh, tailwind or the runway for growth is very large. For example, in India, if I look today, there are three or four things which look that over the next 10 years, Indian companies looking at this space will do very well because the size of the sector will go up. One, the fact that there is resentment to China. Some of the industries can benefit. And so we are very good in pharmaceuticals. We are very good in chemistry, biology. We have enough talent in these spaces. If the size, domestic as well as export, starts to move up, the companies operating in this, there will be very big winners in some of these names. Now some of these names are already trading at a more expensive valuation than the Sensex today on a trailing basis. Does that mean that they are overvalued from the current context? Yes. But if the size of the sector was to go 5x from here in the next 10 years, even in consumer durables or appliances, our penetration is very, very less compared to globally. For fridges, for ACs, coolers. And power supply is now constant in India. There was an issue 10 years back where there was no power supply. So if penetration, which is say, for example, 20% for fridges, goes to say 80% in the next 10 years, which is possible, uh, then what does it mean to the current appliance majors? So while they might be trading at 50 times 2 year forward, but if I'm sure that in the next 10 years that this is the size of the market, then can I pay that multiple? Uh, the other argument is lever was expensive 10 years back on valuation. It is expensive today as well. Point being that it's the potential that determines what you are willing to pay. If a company can grow 100x in the next 10 years, maybe a PE multiple of 40 is not so bad if the growth visibility is there. So value is the context of what is the growth potential. You cannot compare a company which is growing 5% for the next 10 years, giving a dividend yield of 8%, and with a company which is bound to grow at 25% CAGR for the next 5 years. So therefore, there will be a differential in the multiples. And ultimately, index is an average of the high P and the low P in the end.
In fact, you made one or two very important points. One is about potential of growth in the future, and second, you made a point about overpaying for something which offers high growth. And then you also mentioned about companies which were trading at a premium a decade back, and they are still trading at a premium now. And then there are companies which were trading at a discount 5, 7, 10 years back, and still there is a discount on those companies. That brings us to our last question of this discussion, which is somehow linked to the answer which you gave right now. That is about at these valuations, do you find value in India? Though one of the answers could be that it's a stock pickers market, and like you mentioned, index is an average of expensive and cheap stock. But on a broader basis, is there a value in India at this point of time? And if yes, is it into those conventional ideas where people are thinking there is a value like engineering, capital goods, metals, or to some extent even financials or PSUs, or you find value somewhere else at this point of time? So that would help us understand more from the current market perspective as well, along with the philosophies which we have discussed till now.
So in my view, the next 4 years or 5 years uh, would belong to sectors like pharma, sectors like IT digital, because the world is becoming more digital. So there is enough sector opportunity to grow. There is a case for uh, manufacturing, domestic manufacturing of appliances and gadgets. There is a case for specialty chemicals. There is also this low penetration of credit and of sort of saving instruments, financial products in India. Uh, so these are pockets where I will look, where I think that these sectors will grow higher than the GDP of the country next 5 years on a volume basis. There'll be companies which will do a very high value and work in this, and they will capture a lion's share. Uh, from my point, there is value in all these pockets today. There are companies which are doing a great job. See, the other thing of lower cost of money that has happened over the last 10 years, the dominant have become more dominant. They have actually upped their game tremendously. And today, almost 80% of the profit pool of any industry belongs to the top three companies. So if you can identify that this is a theme that is going to do well in the next 5 years, can I just play the top two or three? I'm largely done, because then that profit pool of that sector will sort of get captured in that, and therefore multiples will follow. A multiple craziness is a factor of how much is the demand for that sector. So as investors, we want to be early on that, so that when there is frenzy, we can sort of say, okay, thank you very much, and move on to the next theme. I think that's where we are. There is tremendous scope in that context of value, not in the traditional context of value. We mentioned about construction, infrastructure. I think these are businesses in India which have always lost money because they're dependent on government order. Government will pay on time. There is no, in my humble opinion, it is gadda khodne ka dhanda. 1 year you dig a hole, next year you have to dig a bigger hole. Every year your size of hole cannot go bigger. And how can you assign a P multiple for that kind of business? I think that's where so I am not a proponent of that kind of value. I want a utility is great. I mean, if you tell me infrastructure, I'm happy to buy a port or a railway line where the capex is done and I'm monetized with dividend, etc. These kind of value, I mean, it's very, very too many permutations, combinations.
So point well taken, and we really hope that these things change in India over the next decade or so, because that's a huge drawdown on efficiency, on our fiscal parameters. And so with this, we come to the end of our discussion, and it was a very interesting discussion, and we have 3 to 4 key takeaways from this discussion, which have really helped us. So one is in terms of understanding how the world is behaving, and there your point about businesses are now thinking that scale it first, and then we will see how people are willing to pay for the potential, and that's how institutions have been behaving for quite a long period of time now. Second was a big myth buster for us, where you articulated it really well, that is very high in growth stocks than in value stocks. And the reason is very, very clear, that growth is very narrow, and there are very few opportunities which offer those kind of growths. And the last and the most important point is about patience, where you gave bamboo example. And we really think your understanding and our belief in value investing holds true, and it stays the way it is, because on the face of it, it sounds a little more logical, it sounds a little more rational than paying exorbitant price for things which are relatively expensive. So thank you so much for this enlightening discussion, and we are sure that this discussion is going to help us as well as our investors, and it will make them aware about what are different opportunities where they should look at investing, rather than just looking at last 1 year or 3 year returns before taking their investment decision. Thank you so much for taking out time, and we really appreciate answering all our questions in extremely lucid and detailed way. Thanks a lot, sir.